First of all, we have a Joe candidates, Joe standard bearers, and so that is a step in the right direction before you talk of the primaries. I mean, the candidates must emerge. That precedes the primaries.
Yes.
Then talking of the primaries, definitely, of course, let's say, even if some of them might not have the capacity to win elections, definitely they're going to ride on the backs of their political godfathers. That is what, if I have to be honest with you. I don't. Just 1 second.
Yes.
Now we are not talking of capacity. I'm not talking of capacity to win elections, to lead. I'm not talking of capacity to govern.
Yeah.
I'm talking of capacity to win the elections.
You see, again.
Now, I hope you're going to appreciate the distinction.
Yes.
If I have to make that distinction, maybe I should elucidate.
You will elucidate.
Because if you talk of capacity to win an election, you might have the capacity, like P2B has the capacity to lead a country because he's prudent, his managerial skills cannot be impugned.
True.
Of course, he won the elections as governor, but he might find it difficult to win the election as president because P2B is not the usual politician that will throw around monies and so on and what have you. So that's what I mean. That's why I want to make that distinction.
So again,
and the average Rivers man or Nigerian politician is one that does not believe in tomorrow. He thinks of today. You cannot come and tell him, and you don't blame them because politicians have deceived them in the past. You can't come and tell the average politician who is hungry that day that don't worry, vote me into office. Once I get into office, I'll ensure this is done, that is done, and all those rhapsodies. Now, the average, they'll tell you, give me now, give me that 4,000 or 5,000 naira now that I'm seeing you, because once you get into office, you get garrison of soldiers and so on, people that will guard you and fend us off. So that is the point I'm making. So
your point also brings me to the next issue, which is the fact which you have just also agreed to, that yes, we have politicians of Ijaw extraction to be the standard bearer of the two major political parties, APC and PDP. But again, you are saying that these politicians may have to ride on the crest of their godfathers.
I say so.
And that brings us back to godfatherism, godfather politics,
I say so.
which we think is dangerous.
Yes, it's quite dangerous. I say so because if I have to be quite honest, I mean, I'm on air, if I have to be quite honest, most of these persons that were thrown up by these political parties are not politicians, so to speak. You cannot say they are popular. They have to depend on politicians. Take, for example, now, if I don't need to mention a name so that I don't advertise anybody. Yeah. But okay, let me call a former politician.
Okay.
That's late. Take, for example, now, you talk of Chief Melford Obiano Kilo of blessed memory. I mean, when you talk of Melford Obiano Kilo, I mean, it's a household name. Even before he contested, he emerged as governor of Rivers State, Old Rivers State. If you say Obiano Kilo, even the man in the creeks will tell you, oh, I know that man. I've heard that name before. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. But most of these politicians now, this is practically almost the first time you're hearing. The earliest was probably in 2018, 2019. So the issue of clout is not there. They have to depend on their, when I mean godfathers, not in the negative sense of it.
But of course, it is always the issue of godfatherism.
No, not in the negative sense. What I mean, not in the negative sense of it, where you say you have a godfather that dictates to you what to do.
But that isn't that what we are likely to see in 2023? I mean, you have just said many of these candidates, Ijaws, agree, and you are excited at the fact that many of them are of Ijaw extraction, but they do not have the clout. So they're going to hide under the shadow of their godfather. And knowing what godfatherism is in Nigerian politics, we're likely to have a puppet as a governor in Rivers State in 2023. Do you agree with me?
Not necessarily. I strongly disagree if we're going to have a puppet. That depends on the individual, and that also depends on the pact you have with your godfather. And it also depends on the godfather himself, the integrity of the godfather. You know, I could be your godfather. You could be my godfather. What does that mean? You have what it takes to ensure my victory at the polls. I can tell you Peter Odili, for example. Let me mention that name.
Okay.
Odili is one man that will never interfere in governance. Even if he's instrumental to your emergence as a governor, he will not interfere. Even if you go to him to say, please talk to Mr. A to give me an appointment, he will tell you, no, I don't want to interfere. I don't know if you understand the point I'm trying to make. So but he's somebody's godfather. That's the point I'm making. So it depends on the godfather and the integrity of the godfather. That matters a lot. So it is a godfather that, most of them have this vagarious, capricious, out of touch control in them. And so they want to decide the budget. They want to decide who becomes a commissioner, a special advisor. They want to decide who gets this contract or that. But some godfathers will not even want to do that. They are like to. Peter Obi did it when he left. So that is the point I'm making. If without that, on their own steam, if you tell most of these politicians, especially the two major political parties, that you go out on your own strength and canvass of votes, I can tell you that it's going to almost be an uphill task. It's like batting on a sticky wicket. Yes. But some of all these other persons, whose names I will also not mention because I'm not advertising, I'm not promoting anybody. There are some persons too, who once you mention their names, everybody, even the taxi drivers will tell you, I know that one. That is the point I'm making.
But I know what you're trying to say. But again, some of us saw pictures. And again, I wouldn't want to mention a particular candidate, a standard bearer in River State. After his emergence, he went two hands. Okay. And even from there, we can know what is likely to happen by the time he becomes, eventually becomes governor.
That's what I'm saying. That they don't. That's what I'm saying. That they don't have the clout. That is not in doubt. They don't have the clout. They'll have to ride on the back. But let us also not forget. I mean, somebody vaunted he's a good student of history.
Yes.
And that he will never make the mistakes others made, and he will never impose any candidate on Rivers people.
But of course, we're seeing it.
Somebody vaunted, you know what I'm talking about, and the person eventually imposed a candidate on the party. That's not the kind of person I'm talking about. And the person will keep telling you, talking of integrity. Oh, you this one betrayed, that one betrayed, but you betrayed somebody. Somebody was your boss, and you betrayed that person. Until today, you people are at loggerheads. I don't know if you understand, but that's not what I'm talking about. So it's not all about rhapsody. That's the point I'm making. Mounting pious relevance and sanctimonious trivialities. That's what you hear. But what I mean is, I mentioned Peter Odili, for example. Odili could be instrumental to your emergence, but will not interfere. He's that kind of person. And a lot of people will attest to that. And most times, when you have a godfather, 1 year into your tenure, max 2 years into your tenure, you want to assert yourself. And that's where the problems are.
That's a big problem.
Yes, you want to assert. Now, they say you stoop to conquer. If you don't have the clout, but you have what it takes to lead, how do you get there? Because you don't have the clout to get there. So you stoop, get in there, and assert yourself. Okay. And that's why most times they run into problems with their so-called godfather. Godfatherism lasts for maximum 2 years.
Whether these candidates that have emerged in the major political parties in Nigeria will be in Rivers State will be able to assert the authority, it's something we will need to talk about, and it's something we need to wait to see. But again, quickly, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Super 93.3 FM Port Harcourt, and it is Point Blank Saturday. And this morning we're looking at the fallout of the primaries, the governorship primaries in Rivers State. And so far, Opunabon Kotara is with us as a civil rights advocate. He's excited at the fact that, well, we've seen politicians of Ijaw extraction emerging as standard bearer for the major political parties in Rivers State. But again, the question is, can these politicians pull their own wheel? He has just said, unfortunately, many of them may have to ride on the crest of their godfather. And the question we're asking ourselves this morning, are we going back to the era of godfatherism? And what is the possibility that some of these candidates may be able to say on their own or be bold to look into the face of their godfather and say, yes, I am the man in charge? How possible is that? Now, we'll throw open the telephone line, and the lines is 070-5079-1021 and 081-174-31021, as well as 090-5948-1021. Now, open up, but just before I go to the telephone lines, you all said, well, we've seen it in politics, 2 years max. The man in charge will want to exert his own authority. But again, looking at the two major political parties, without necessarily mentioning names, the stand bearer seems to have one thing or the other tied to alleged godfathers. And again, a lot of people have said, well, that may just be the blackmail points. I may be wrong in my analysis, but again...
Like, I know why you're saying this. And I know what you want to get out of me. The truth is, I know you're talking of the recent court judgment.
Of course, the Supreme Court. And don't forget, there's this EFCC
and the allegation, the allegation by Nyesom Ezonwike that Right Honorable Rotimi Amaechi wants to impose Toyo Cole on Rivers people because of to act the sleazy financial dealings, and went ahead to mention $50 million in church. I know that's the point you're trying to raise.
And of course, on the part of the PDP.
And on the part of the PDP, that one is even substantiated. That's even a worse case, because in that case, the EFCC already declared him wanted for alleged fraud of 426 or 428 billion naira. That's quite huge, my brother.
But you see, both candidates...
But I'm not too surprised. With the 500 million naira to one state, 200 million to this, 6 million to 200 million.
Well, my point is both candidates have something tied to their
Yeah, well, until the court says so.
Yes, allegedly, yes.
Yes, allegedly, yes. And that's why a lot of people also insinuate that probably the so-called godfathers' hands were fettered, because if they had failed to impose the candidates on the various parties, well, the candidate would probably have squealed or something.
And also the candidate the candidate too, they have one leg in and one leg out. Allegedly.
No, that is the point. That is the point you're trying to raise. I mean, it's in public domain. I mean, these are analyses, these are conjectures, and everybody has a right to analyze. And if you look at it, there's some sense of reasoning, in the analysis, because especially with the disclosures going on right now. I mean, the Supreme Court has said, well, go and appear before the panel. Of course, it will be subjected to litigation, no doubt about that. On this other one, the EFCC has said, you have a case to answer, even went as far as declaring you wanted. So for now, my worry, sincerely, is with these disclosures, I just hope that at the end of it all, we are not going to have the Zamfara experience, the Bayelsa experience, or the rehash of the 2019, what happened in 2019. Because if these issues are really substantiated and the courts find them guilty, definitely they'll be disqualified. And that is why the so-called godfathers would have been circumspect in choosing who emerges. It should have, I mean, the best thing would have been to choose people that have no fraudulent financial allegations against them. But for reasons best known to them, they have gone ahead to make their choices. And definitely, the Rivers State governor has threatened arrest. He has also threatened to, no, he said he was going to consult with...
Actually, we will look into that, because
elders.
That's another big issue. We will talk about that. But again, you see, I'm just trying to play around this issue of godfatherism, which the ants seem to be coming out gently. In our politics in Rivers State, we're beginning to see the smoke. In our politics in Rivers State.
I don't know which of the smoke is it from
the white
is it exactly is it that of Fire or which of them?
Okay. So Opunabo Nkotana is with us in the studio. We'll just throw open the telephone lines, and we're looking at the emergence of the candidates of the two major political parties. Of course, he's excited. He's an Ijaw man. And he's also excited that politicians of Ijaw extraction are emerging. But again, when we look at the process and the procedure for their emergence, well, People's Democratic Party, it seems to be very silent, but it is, some have described it as silent of the graveyard. The APC, well, the discourse for the process is very, very vocal. And again, we are asking ourselves, looking at the way these standard bearer emerge, aren't we going back to the issue of godfatherism? Let's get your comments on this. Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Point Blank, Saturday.
Good morning. My name is Chima George. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
Chima, good morning.
Please, the area I wanted to talk about is that each time you people are talking on air, the guests in the studio, always we hear Ijaw. I want to find out Rivers State is still an Ijaw state. That's my own this thing I'm interested in. Yes, Rivers State is it an Ejo state? Every day they mention Ejo. Giving, I don't understand. So I want to find out. That's the question I want to answer your guest in the studio. If Rivers State, so that we know our stake now. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Chima. And we would answer your question. Okay, so we have another call coming through here. Well, Chima has a right to question anyway. So Chima has asked a question. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Point blank.
Good morning to you, the guest in the house.
Yeah, good morning.
Timothy is calling from Boy.
Moses, good morning.
I want to ask a question to the guest in the house. Now, I want to ask, which of these two godfathers we are talking about, do he think will not control, will not interfere in the governance of these their two boys?
Okay, you're asking Opunabo that.
Yes. Is it the one?
Well, I'm not sure Opunabo is a clairvoyant. You may not know. But again, go ahead with your question.
And the only was defending that they made a godfather and they will not interfere in their governance. So I want to ask him, who among the children did he think will not interfere in the governance of their two boys? If he was that promised the party, he was not going to impose the candidate.
Thank you so much, Moses. Thank you so much. And let's take this one. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to Point Blank.
Good morning. My name is Prince Kubo Maxwell.
Prince Kubo Maxwell, good morning.
Yes, first let me answer the guy who asked whether River State is an injustice. Yes, because, no, I'm coming, Shogu. Let me tell him, River State is an injustice. What I like, because in the old, when you go out to say, I am from Okreta, I am from Calabari, people don't really know what, when you say I'm from injustice, they know you're talking about River State.
Again,
that is
Prince
on
Kubo
one
Maxwell,
side.
he has a right to his question and open up all.
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm just trying to, I've got where he's going as if the one people say, it's an injustice, means they are just thinking of like the Bayelsa.
All right,
no.
so Prince Kubo Maxwell, you may ask your question.
So talk about the godfatherism, it will not stop in Nigeria, just like what our father is talking in the TV. But there is a true story. When a man gets to sit in the next 2 years, my brother, between where you born, when he gets to a certain stage, you cannot control it. So whether you like it or not, the comparison is there. But once the man gets to that seat, that godfathering will stop because the fallout will stay happen. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Prince Kubo Maxwell. And let's take this one. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Point Blank.
Yes, good morning, Shegu.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to the guests in the studio.
Open up on Kotaria, yes.
Good morning. My name is Tangod, calling from Gokana local government.
Yes.
My contribution to this, or my own opinion to this, concerning the godfatherism in politics. If you carefully look at the PDP, the aspirant on the PDP candidate, the PDP supporters, they are even complaining that they know the candidate of PDP, that they don't even know his name has not been shown in the state. So to me, I see that if you are saying that godfatherism in politics, it is happening both in PDP and in APC. The two major political parties in the state. So you're talking about Ogoni is part of River State, and Ogoni has been denied the right to be in position in River State, which is not good. So let us look at it very fair.
Okay.
Thank you, my
Thank
brother.
you so much. And let's take one more before we come back to Open Up on Kotana. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us. Point Blank.
Let me greet Chief Opunabo Kotaria in the studio. My name is J.A.J. I'm calling
J.A.J.,
you from
good morning.
Good morning. Good
Thank
morning.
Thank you very much. I remember, was it in 2007, where you have Obasanjo virtually campaigning for Yaradua. Yaradua was even sick, was in the hospital. At the time, Obasanjo had to take the phone and call Yaradua during the campaign. So, Umaru, are you dead? So, Umaru did not even campaign anywhere. It was Obasanjo that did all the campaign. And at the end of the day, Obasanjo sold our refinery. Within 6 days in office, Umaru turned it down. That is one. Secondly, I also remember that Theodore Orji of Abia State was in EFCC custody and campaigns were on. It was after he won that he was released. And before 2 years, Theodore Orji and Orji Zokalo were like cat and dog, that Theodore have to defect to the PDP, while Zokalo remained in his PPP. I don't know if Opunabo Kotaria is following this, my sequence.
Of course I am.
And all those, thank you very much for listening, sir. Now, all those put together, so many others. Even when Omea was campaigning, it was Odili everywhere. We were even thinking that, oh, Odili was supposed to do his third tunnel and all those put together. But we also know what happened at the end of the day. So for me, the last one was Obasaki and what's his name? Oshomole. And you also know the story. So those control and all those ones, I don't have that fear because the man will want to assert his own authority and want to move on so that he can also have a godfather, just like Ibori and Okowa right now. But that being said, I don't think that all those allegations are anything to go by until the court pronounce something, $50 million, 300 and something billion, and all those put together. Don't also forget, on same side, that the EFCC don't have any right now to check Rivers books. So as far as I'm concerned, if the EFCC want to work, let them go vacate. They know this whole thing now. They know more than me and you now. So what's all this noise about 1 billion and no billion and all those put together? They know what to do. Let them start disturbing us so that people can go and rest well. So for me, I think the days ahead will be so intriguing, and I can't just help but to roll up my sleeve and begin to watch. And if I can play, I play along too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my
JJ,
brother.
of course, thank you, JJ. And well said, the days ahead are quite intriguing. But again, open up. What are
so
your
his
comments?
views are in sync with mine then.
Yeah. So we have a very interesting state. But you see, in all of this open up on Kotare, there is also a rumor of a third first. We're likely to see a third first, given the consideration of everything we're saying. There are some other people that felt, well, Rivers State, after 57 years, cannot be like this, must not be like this, and should not be like this. And there's a possibility of a third first. Are you aware of it? And again, if there is a third first, can it actually change the color of the politics of Rivers State? We know Rivers State. And you have been in Rivers State a long time.
Well, emphatically, I can tell you,
people.
not just been in Rivers State a long time. I mean, I'm
Rivers
a
man.
Rivers man.
Yes.
Proud German. No apologies to the
yes.
if Rivers State
is an unjust
state. Anyway, having said this, yes, I can tell you authoritatively that you're definitely going to have a third force. And this will be occasioned by the disapproval of the emergence, the process that led to the emergence of the two candidates in the two major political parties in Rivers State. A lot of people are gathered right now. They are meeting, and they're looking for a party and a candidate that they believe will pick these two other candidates, the APC and the PDP, because these are two major political parties in the state. So I can tell you unequivocally, yes, that there's a third force. Now the question is, the conundrum rather is, how fruitful, how successful will the third force be? Because if you talk of political parties in Rivers State, you have majorly the APC and the PDP. And if you talk of numerical strength, these are the parties with the numerical strength. So unless you have a protest vote where the aggrieved members of the party, in order to revenge the so-called wrong or injustice done them in terms of denial, might want to say, okay, you godfathers, you have done what you think you can do. We will now disgrace you at the polls. You will be shocked that your candidates will not win. We are going to sponsor. Some will come out openly, some it will be done covertly, some overtly. Will come out openly to support, while others will secretly support. That is where the third force might have a chance.
But let me ask you this, Opunabo Nkotana. This is point blank, and we ask us our questions point blankly.
Yes.
Do you think Rivers State needs a third force?
If I think Rivers State needs a third force?
Yes.
Yes, I can tell you that.
And why do you feel so?
We need a departure. We want a situation where the Rivers people should speak. We don't want persons foisted on Rivers people where they don't have choices. Let us have a third force. And even if the third force is not going to succeed at least it will, to a very large extent, add color to our democracy. That is why I say we should have a third force. I am a strong advocate of not just one political party, one-party system. If we're going to have political parties, we're going to have 10 political parties, fine. So that the people will have the freedom to make choices.
Now, of course, we have more political
parties. No, that's the point I'm making, and that's why I want a third force. Now, the difference between the third force and the other, that your third force is going to be a strong political party that will be supported by majority, unlike these other political parties. That's why it is called the third force. That will come as a threat to the two major political parties. That's why it's called the third force.
But again, I'm going to be asking you, because you see, you're a Rivers
fan. So if you ask me, I'll tell you, yes, we need a third force.
Yeah, we will throw that to the telephone lines and to our listening audience. But again, the maturity of the Rivers electorate, I'm going to be asking you that. Do you think we are that mature to accommodate a third force? That's something I would also want you to answer to. But quickly, let's come back to the telephone line, 0705-079-1021 and 081-174-31021. And we're talking to Opunabon Kotara. It is Point Blank Saturday. And of course, you can have deep insight analysis to issues like you have it on those radio stations on Point Blank. Opunabon Kotara has just agreed, yes, Rivers State needs a third force in our politics. Do you agree with his views? Point Blank. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Honorable Pastor Shegun. And I want to greet my elder, Saibate.
Ibade.
Yes, my name is Onu Samuel. Sir, with you, I know you as a man with boldness, doggedness, and when you say the truth, you don't look back. But now, I don't understand because you're trying to compromise the standard I know you are. You don't hide anything. So who are those godfathers within those two parties I don't want to mention? Yes, I want to know. And let me come to Rivers and PDP. Now, you understand that if truly PK is sincere to the Ejos and to the Calabaris, we should have made George Kelly or Danagogo a second person within the primary. Why did he make Ikwereman become the second person during the primary?
Well, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong there. I'm not sure it's an Ogoni. It's Isaac Kamalu that is the second man, not Ikwereman. I think your analysis is wrong. I'm sorry. You may just need to get your facts correctly. But thank you so much for joining us. Let's just take this one. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Point Blank.
Hello, good morning, Pastor Shegun.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Otiasa Christian Livingston. I'm a man.
Good morning.
Good morning to the audience.
Good morning.
Shegun, let me completely agree with the take of Opunawinko Taria and my very good friend JJ as to the dynamics of Godfather and Godson. I also do not have the fear that anybody who has presented a negative as intention or intendment of having a godson in no distant time will have a problem with his godson. That is one factor. But it's also very correct that in the two major political parties, we're speaking about the PDP and the APC, there are discontent, mountainous, very loud discontent in these two parties as to the president candidates they have picked. It now depends on the maturity of members of this party. Because if you look at the texture of the discontent, there is some form of homogeneity that people that have not passed through the crucible of the people should not be able to ascend to those positions. And now, you also look at it that each of them have a baggage of an allegation of corruption and all that. We know that has not been proved. But like Unoebo said, the parties need to be circumspect so that we don't work in vain. Job did not trust God for nothing. So if these foot soldiers go to work their hell out, at the end of the day, should not be dashed away by just a process, a thinking, a thought, a decision that was not well thought through. So the leaders also have opportunity right now to make amends by the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and the Nigerian Constitution that allows for substitution. Rivers people are very loud, even when they appear to be quiet. That the sea is quiet does not mean that there are no chats in it. So they can redeem themselves. Yes, they can redeem themselves in both parties. And the third force is needed. But there are also other job candidates or other candidates of the other parties that do not have a baggage. I've not heard you mention Accord. I've not heard you mention other parties. So if at the close of the window of substitution, the right things are not done, I want to urge Rivers people to either stick to their party or the choice of going to join any other third force is in their hands.
Okay.
But we need a better government that will be able to see us as your own.
Thank you so much, Christian Cesar. Let me just take one more before I come back to open up on Kotaya. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Are you there? Okay, we'll launch that. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Shegu.
Thank you for joining us. Point blank.
My name is Otto Goska. I'm calling from Omega.
Good.
Mr. Shegu, you see, the politics in Rivers State need a third force, because definitely you see that these political parties are not ready to give opportunity to people who have the will and the manpower to change the state of the state. We must be focused before we realize our potential.
All right.
There's enormous potential in this state, but it's quite unfortunate that it looks as if the leaders or possibly the political parties go for mediocre, and at the end of the day, ending up in regret and not win.
Well, those are very harsh words. These are very harsh words. But again, you support a third force, and you think, yes, we need a third force in Rivers State. And also, I want our callers or those following us to put their comment on the social media. Do you think Rivers State needs a third force in its politics? Let's have your comment and give us reasons. Yes.
Rivers State, we need a third force. We need it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Because if you watch the political parties, they didn't give us the right persons to lead us. We need a third force.
Thank you.
The third force might be the character we need in the state.
Well, good. Let me take this last one before I come back. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I lost that.
Okay. No. I just all those who agree with me that we need a third force. I hope you have your PVCs and you're going to come out on that day.
Actually, that is the question. That is the question I am asking you. The majority of the voters. The majority of the voters. You are a Rivers man. I mean, for a very long time.
It's so sad that Nigerians and, by extension, Rivers people have been so impoverished. You know, I mentioned this in the past that they think of today and not tomorrow. So the two major political parties are parties that are in power, either at the state or the federal level, and they have huge financial war chest. So they might have the money to play around, which the third force might not have. Nevertheless, where they spend hypothetically $1 billion naira, for example, and the third force has 500 million naira, with a credible candidate and a candidate that is legitimate, in other words, acceptable, the third force has a chance. So what will matter is the candidate.
And again, that brings us to the recruitment process of our leadership.
1 minute. Let me just quickly round up. What matters now is the candidate. And for all those calling for third force, they should also not just say we need a third force. They also should contribute in any way they can, financially and otherwise. Either you're going to help to print the banner, or you're going to help to sponsor a rally, or you're going to help to do, because the person that will come out, the candidate of that third force, definitely cannot compete financially with any candidate of the APC or the PDP. No sentiments whatsoever, because they are taken from the pool.
You know, a lot of questions are coming to my mind, but again, if we go that travel, we may not end this program this morning. But again, quickly, we've agreed. Yes, there's a third force. Now, let me just quickly correct something. Otiasa Christian also said I did not mention some other kind. Of course, I mentioned NRM, which has High Chief Suboma Bojakrish, who is also an Ijoman. Accord Party, I'm not aware the primaries has been done. I'm not aware of that. But I know that
but why I didn't even really bother about that is that when you talk of a third force, I thought there is no independent candidate candidates. So when you talk about top four, you're talking of a candidate that will emerge from a political party.
Yeah.
So I don't think that should be an issue. I don't think you really need to bother even explaining that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yes.
But again, another thing which you mentioned in the course of our discussion a while ago is the issue of the Supreme Court judgment. Again, Governor Wike had a press conference yesterday in Abuja, and Governor Wike told those who participated at the press conference that, well, moving forward, our next line of action will be determined by the leaders of Rivers State. And they will determine whether we should move further and prosecute. And he said if that happens, it will advise the Attorney General Monday to go ahead and press charges.
He said Minister of Justice. Did this Attorney General? There's no Attorney General.
Oh, Minister of Justice. And again, the Right Honorable Chibuike Rotimi Amaechi has also said the court judgment has vindicated him as the former governor and his administration. Well, I know you're not a practicing lawyer. I know you're not a practicing lawyer, but you have a sound legal mind. These are confusion to Rivers people. What's your take?
Well, what the Supreme Court judgment only did was, if I have to be honest, what Amaechi went to court. He's challenging because he was supposed to appear, and he said it's a packed jury, and he was not going to get fair hearing, so there was no point appearing. The panel, nevertheless, went ahead, indicted him, his government, a white paper. So that was what he challenged, the propriety of the panel from the High Court to Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, you ought to have appeared, go and appear. Now already, there's a white paper, so you cannot appear. The man who was in charge of the panel, Justice Remeji, is even retired.
Yeah, retired.
Yes. Now what the government, Wike, is talking about is acting in reliance upon that white paper to go to court.
Yeah.
You understand? That is more or less like an evidentiary proof, as if investigations were done, findings, and so on. So that is what he wants to use. Now, that does not mean, well, in the eyes of the state government, he's guilty. But it is not the state government that will pronounce you guilty.
It is the courts.
It's the courts, you see. But in the eyes, it's like now, Shegu, for me to say, to put you to court, I must have an allegation leveled against you. Either I'm calling you a thief, I must call you a thief, a murderer, or whatever the issue is.
And those are allegations.
And those are allegations. But to me, that is what you are. Now the court will either affirm or disagree with my allegation. So in the eyes of the government, he is guilty. But then, this has to be confirmed or dismissed by the court. And that is why the governor, U.S. Wike, is saying he will initiate legal proceedings depending on advice from leaders of the state.
But even that position.
Now, that does not mean that in the eyes of the law, within the cognizance of the law, Rotimi Chibuike Amaechi is guilty. That's the point. Within the court, no, because it is not a court that has pronounced him guilty. So within the cognizance of the law, he is not guilty. But within the eyes of the government, he is guilty. And I use this analogy of, for me to prosecute you, I believe you're guilty of an offense. That's why I'm prosecuting you. You understand what I'm trying to say? Now the court will now affirm or disagree.
But you know, Opunabo, you are a chartered arbitrator and from the UK. And again, looking at the position of the Rivers State government, let me just quickly read what Governor Ezekwesili said. It is now the leaders of the state that would decide what next step to take against Amaechi. He said he couldn't do nothing himself as he did not have the State Executive Council anymore. And he said, a quote, "It is not for me. Yes, I'm the governor, but I can't do it alone. If the leaders of the state say, yes, we must prosecute them, I have no choice. But if the leaders say otherwise, I have no choice." And that's what Governor Wike said. Again, the question is, who constitutes the leaders of the state? I'm very sorry, but again, maybe that's not a right question to ask. Do we know who the leaders of the state are that would make this choice?
Well, when you talk about leaders of the state, of course, you have leaders. I mean, those that are generally accepted as leaders, irrespective of their political divides, leading and what have you. You have them. Like if Peter Odili is a leader. How will I? Who else will I call? They are leaders. I mean, there are leaders, so no doubt about that.
So,
No, 1 minute. You have leaders, but the truth is, we all know that those are just mere thugs. Nyesom Ezewike is a maverick. He has a mind of his own. He's not going to consult anybody. He has already made up his mind on what to do. Rather, what might happen is people dissuading him from doing what he wants to do. But he already made up his mind on what to do. He just wants to give the world the impression that he's not vindictive, it's not a question of witch hunt, and so on. So if tomorrow we initiate legal proceedings against Rotimi Amaechi, it is not of my making. It's not of my volition. I am almost compelled to. The money belongs to Rivers people, so I am compelled by Rivers people to so do. But we all know.
But let us accept what the governor has said, that, look, I will consult the leaders of the state. Let the leaders decide. Let us accept that. Again, as a chartered arbitrator, is that a very good procedure? I'm talking to you now as an expert.
Well, the truth about it is that...
because he has said, in fact, he said that as Rivers people, if you see the reports, you weep for the state.
The truth about it is, if you believe a crime has been committed, it really has nothing to do with whether, because you're there in the image of Rivers people to protect the lives and property, which includes our finances. So if you believe that there are some sharp practices, you don't need to wait for Rivers people to go to court.
Rivers leaders
you don't need to wait for them to
because again,
because that will be
your vote to you.
That will be endorsing the act. Because what if the leader said no? Are you going to let that go? So is it that two things there? Is it that even the Wike himself impugns the report? Are they trumped up? And so he doesn't want further exposure? Because the substance of that report is not an issue, was not an issue. What was an issue was the propriety of the panel, not the substance of the report. So is it that he's doubting it? Was it a witch hunt? Because if it wasn't a witch hunt, then you go ahead. You subjected the whole thing to the clinical prognosis of the legal lab. That's what you do.
Because, again...
you don't need any advice from anybody. So it's either the report is not true, like Amaechi is claiming, or I don't know how else to describe
96 billion naira. Now, the amount is 96 billion naira. And you have said,
yes,
according to Governor Wike, that if any Riversman see the report, they will weep. And so, which means the governor believes that, well, the findings are true. Now you're saying leaders would decide the fates of 96 billion naira Rivers money.
That's what I'm saying. There's more to it. That's the point I'm making.
All right, now let's come back to the telephone lines. So again, Governor Wike has said that he will be waiting.
Did he seek the consent of Rivers people when he set up that panel?
Or the Rivers leaders?
Did he seek the consent of the leaders when he set up that panel?
Yeah.
Did he?
So again, let's throw that open to our listeners. So Rivers elders to decide what to do, what the next action following Supreme Court's ruling on the 96 billion alleged fraud. Again, so is that a good move? Again, don't forget, Governor Wike is the governor of the River State. We give our votes to him to protect our lives and property, which include our finances. So, well, is it a good move? Let's just leave it at that. Let me leave the question at that. Take this one. Good morning.
Hello, Shegu Pastor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. This is Fred Michael.
Yes,
from
Fred.
Koro.
Good morning.
I want to talk about the third force they are talking about.
Okay, you want to talk about the third force? Yes, go ahead.
We are not talking about, we don't need third force in State.
Okay.
To vote for the party people are waiting for. The party was on power. We see differences in River State. We see changes in River State. Both the local government. There's no hardship in River State. We didn't experience hardship we are experiencing now. So we don't need any third force in River State.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
finance the party.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, your line is not very clear. I apologize. But again, thank you so much. Now, again, I was still looking at the issue of subjecting or the Godfather or the Rivers fathers or Rivers leaders deciding what to do following the Supreme Court ruling. Let's come back to this line. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. This is Point Blank. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Sheldon.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I think let me just join the issue with the conclusion of our governor who has tried to go to the Supreme Court. I think you are aware that the governor, upon assumption of office, swore to the oath of allegiance and oath of office, and that is their section. The second schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. And therefore, the governor rightly understand, and I got the discussion properly from our brother who is there, Chief Ikotaria, who is sounding very well and legal. I thank him there. He has already sworn an oath of office and oath of allegiance. So it is to protect the property and the lives of the Rivers people. What amounts to property include money. Property is not only land. We have speculating and the property. So money is property of the Rivers State. Therefore, we must not wait for the leaders of the Rivers State before Ameti, if he rightly believe, sincerely believe, honestly believe that Ameti has utterly defrauded the state to the tune of 96 billion naira. As you're hearing, that's a very large chunk of money that can turn Rivers around. We have four local government and other rural areas that need the dividend of democracy. You should know that the Che is not developed. Ogoni is not developed. Nobody is not developed.
Barrister Isaiah, maybe you might just make a point here.
There is nothing like development. So we should use that. The state should, the governor should Rivers State. Otherwise, the governor can be arrested.
You are a lawyer, because that's another angle. Otherwise, the governor can be arrested. Well, thank you so much, Barrister Isaiah, for joining us there. I'm taking two more. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Point Blank.
Good morning to you, Pastor Shego Olabi.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning to the good Alabo in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. We remain faithful here, sir.
Yes, sir.
Talking about godfatherism, no vex, let me take us back. For me, there's nothing wrong with godfatherism.
Okay.
But how you use them? Because like they say in my community that to grow big set of teeth is not a problem. But the challenge is to grow the size of lip that will cover that teeth for you. I did a challenge there.
Okay.
So that's why I agreed with Malabo in the studio when he said it depends on the godfather and what he want to achieve. And don't forget that just like Mr. J.J. have said earlier, most of the godfathers will see how they end with their godsons politically. Now talking about the third force. For me as a person, I agree also that we did need a third force because most times when the process of the political parties throws out who they believe is good for them, for us, the people, the rest of us, we might not like those two persons or those persons the parties threw up for us. So what do? If we have an alternative, some of us can support the alternative. At the end of the day, I see if we can achieve results. Like the Alabo said, if this time the third force no achieve them, based on the impact the third force will make, definitely the other political parties, the bigger ones, will sit up because they know that if they don't sit up well properly, definitely they might be pushed out. For me, I'm in support of that one. And again, make every time round like I said, for me, I get my PVs. I go find money to contribute if I can get money because for now I don't get money, but I get more support. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we'll take one more because we need to begin to wrap up this segment. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Prince.
Prince, thank you for joining us.
Okay. I agree with the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm interested in that third force.
Okay.
All the people that they choose in APC and PDP, I'm not a member of any of those parties also. I'm not a member of any party. I'm not okay with all those people that they choose. So if there's any third force that will come out, I think I'm going to support that third force. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Prince. And open up, let's come back to the studio. We just have about 2 or 3 minutes more. Again, Barrister Isaiah has said something very critical. And Barrister Isaiah said the Rivers State governor took an oath that, again, if he tells Rivers people, not necessarily that we're supporting it, but we're looking at legally that he may be sued. How correct is that?
Well, because maybe sued? No, he wasn't the governor of the state when it happened.
No, but again, he has the reports, he did the finding, and he could go to court on behalf of Rivers people.
Of course, yes, he could go. He could tell you he's still discussing with his lawyers. He's still discussing with on the process and so on. He could tell you that. So, and also, it's not statute bad. Crime is not statute bad. I mean, he can always sue, even if he doesn't the next. I don't think anybody will put him to court for that reason. I don't think so. And my own take is, because Tonya Cole has challenged everybody, Rivers, including the governor, to go and peruse the records.
Check. That's his response. He said, look at the record.
Yes,
the record is in the public domain.
That he has nothing to fear, and there is no fraud. And the Minister for Transportation, in fact, he has been silent. As far as he was concerned, it was a no issue. I mean, it's a no issue. So,
and of course, his media aides released a statement yesterday.
That was nothing to worry about.
There's nothing to worry about.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making. So that's why I'm saying if Nyesom Wike is quite sure, because this goes to the very foundation of the propriety of that panel. If he's quite sure that it wasn't a packed jury, and there are facts, evidentiary proof, then let him go to court. But if he doesn't, then it was just a mere witch hunt.
So he should just keep quiet.
And that is what Amechi and Tonya Cole, that's as far as they're concerned, they said it was just a witch hunt, that they're innocent of the charges.
Well, again, we have comments coming in on the social media, and my apologies to those sending in their comments on the social media. Good morning, Shegun, and this is from Lucky Lacey Ebenezer. Good morning, Shegun. This godfatherism of a thing in Rivers State and Nigeria at large is against the citizens' jurisdiction. The consensus are handpicked by the so-called godfather. The citizens have their choice, a hot to vote come 2023. None of the two-party candidates who was declared winner has the political strength to win election, both PDP and APC. And again, Kenneth Ibiemie said, if at this number of years we say the state is relying on godfatherism in politics, I wonder how we will be consistent in our development. Shegun, the result of the primaries, not so far as is filled with uncertainty and genuineness from both parties. On the third force, it won't work because those in power have enveloped Rivers State people into hunger. Again, Ibia Tele Pedro, good morning, Shegun, and your guest in the studio, the Enigma Opunabon Kotaya. My contribution is that come 2023, Rivers people will speak with our PVC, and there's nothing Governor Wike nor ex-minister Rotimi Amechi can do. We know the better candidate is between the two major contenders. Again, the mind, the thinking of Rivers people. Now, you saw one of them say that now Rivers people are poor.
I said that. I told you that. I said Nigerians and extended Rivers. I said so. Yeah, I said, and that would be a major problem because they will think of their stomach first, think of what they will get today, because they are not sure of tomorrow because you don't trust our politicians these days. They make empty promises. Once they get into office, you don't have access to them anymore. And that is the problem. But you see, there is a solution. There's a partnership when it comes to that. Take the money and vote your conscience.
Open up. Let's round this up now. Yes. Now, from what you saw in 2019 and what you are seeing in 2022, is there a difference?
Not really. Not really.
So nothing has changed?
Nothing has changed. The only difference is that in 2023, you're not going to have a weekend there anymore as a governor. That's the only difference. And that's why he's hell bent on ensuring he imposes a candidate he believes that will be there in his own image, which is going to be more or less a Wike's third term in office. That's what has happened. That's what has caused the fixture in the party, the PDP. It's the silence of the graveyard. Let's wait and see what will happen.
We'll be going on a short break. And of course, that will bring to the end of this first segment of the show. It's fantastic talking to Opunabon Kotaya, a civil rights advocate. After the break, we have another set of guests. Now, don't forget, Senator Magnus Abe issued a statement after the primaries of the All Progressive Congress describing the primaries as a sham and a charade. And he's insisting it will be on the ballots. Now, stay with us. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And after this break, don't forget, Point Blank is open for sponsorship. you can participate and sponsor this program, and you can enjoy the large audience we have. Stay with us. After this break, our next guest will be on.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
It's Super FM. Stay tuned.
If no one knows how amazing your products or services are, then how can you make money from it? That is why you should hurry now with your jingles, special announcements, religious programs, political programs, and more. And let's take them directly to your target audience, as Super 93.3 FM PH is open for business. That's exactly right. Just walk into our commercial office located downtown